Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to the channel. For those who haven't been here, welcome. Today on Bear Builds Bikes, we're going to be assembling a new product that we haven't had before. This is from Batch Bicycles. This is called the Lifestyle. It's a gorgeous orchid color, basically a sport hybrid, and we're going to get her up into the stand and we're going to get her built the same way we do with all the other bikes on this channel. So I hope you'll enjoy this content, that you'll like, share, and subscribe, and let's get started. So on this one, we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut the box. I know we've gone back and forth about cutting or just tearing them open. The glue on these is really harsh, so we're just going to cut the top right at the very top edge. We don't want to slice into a tire. Get the box open, just like so. Fortunately, the tires are on that side of the box. We're going to pull out this frame. As you can see, it is a beautiful, almost candy apple red. We're going to lean that up against the stand. We have our seat. We have our seat post. And we have our parts box. Very basic. It's a 7-speed, beautiful bike, absolutely beautiful. So as usual, we're going to size our clamp, make sure that it's grabbing at the right tension. Get it at the right angle. We're going to grease our seat post. Get our post down into the frame. Wipe off any excess. And we're going to get her up into the clamp. Like so. Alright, now I'm going to reposition the camera and we're going to do some disassembly and unpacking. We'll do it all in fast forward like we usually do, and then we'll get into the actual assembly. So with our 3-way Allen wrench, the 6mm is going to take off the 2 bolts that hold this cap onto the stem. We're going to leave them in the cap. And we're going to turn our handlebar up to where it's seated in that cap. And we're going to start our bolts, making sure to be very careful not to cross thread them. Get them started so that the handlebars don't fall out. And we essentially want the gap at the top and the bottom of the cap to be equal distance so that we have equal clamping power. We're not going to lock these down 100%, but we're going to make sure that they don't move. Now with our brake adjuster barrel, we're going to turn the lock all the way out and then turn it all the way in. And then with our front brake cable, we're going to disconnect it. Pull it out, put the pill into the receiver, stretch it along the brake cable or the brake lever so that it seats, and then turn it so that it's all the way in. Now we're going to put the front wheel on. All right, so inside our parts box is the skewer that holds the front wheel on. I'm going to take out all our parts. And this is our skewer. And we're going to take the end cap off and the first spring. We're going to leave the second spring. I'm going to reach over here. I'm going to grab a little bit of grease, put on the spindle there. Now with our front wheel, we're going to take the caps off and throw those in the recycle. Now I want the handle, this side of the skewer, to go on the left side of the wheel. I want the tread of the tire facing that way, and then I'm going to put the spring, conical side, narrowest side towards the hub, and then put the cap on. Just a few turns. And then we're going to get this up into the frame. I'm going to use my knee to hold it in place. I'm going to hold this side, turn clockwise until it just makes the lightest bit of contact. Make sure it's centered in the frame and lock it down. Now I can reconnect my brake. If it'll allow, the brake tension may need to be released. Back the cable off a little. And all of this has to be adjusted anyway, so at least now it's basically assembled. And we're going to put some air in that front tire. It's always nice to have a compressor for this. All right, so we're going to put some air in the tire. I'm going to get it up to about 65 psi. And we're going to go around to the back and do the same thing. Spin the tire to make sure that it's actually seated. Brakes will need adjusting front and rear. From the factory, they're just rough assembled. And the extra tape off. And whilst we're here, we're going to gently cut open the box that's holding the seat. Since this is a regular old school clamp, I'm going to grab a 14 millimeter. Kind of get it centered in the rails. And make sure that we put as much tension on either side to keep it equal. You don't want a bunch of the bolts sticking out. And this is just rough. You're not trying to get it perfect because you won't know until it's on the floor. All right. So as we can see, there's a lot of looseness there. We still have to put the pedals on, which are right here. We're going to unwrap them. Put a little grease on the threads. Now, some of you don't know this. It is a trick that we've known for a while as builders. Aside from the red sticker that says right and the green sticker that says left, if you look on the spindles for the pedals, this one here is smooth and this one has knurls in it. The knurled side is always the left. You can also tell because the threads go from the lower to the upper, right, from low to high in right, and from low to high in left on the left side. So when we thread these in, we're going to go clockwise to get the thread started. I'm going to be very careful not to cross thread them. Just get them started by hand. And the same with the other side. When you reach through the frame, you're going to go clockwise to get the pedal started. And we take our 15mm pedal wrench and we pedal backwards. Hold the wheel, lock them down. All right. So now we're going to move the camera so you can see how we adjust the brakes. All right, now we've done this before. We're going to squeeze the brake and see. We don't want it below the rim here. So we're going to loosen up the bolt. We're going to set it right against the rim. We're going to make sure when it hits, it's not below the rim surface. Should be just flush with it. Same with this side. We want it parallel. And then we're going to take up the slack in the cable. Pull those brakes together. We want just enough to where it wiggles back and forth. You see this side is moving more. So we're going to increase tension on this screw to balance out the amount of pull on the brake springs. Now they're both moving equally now, and they don't touch the rim. And we're going to tuck our wire behind the spring and leave it out here so that it kind of locks it in place. And that one is good to go. Now we'll move to the rear. So we have the same scenario here. We want the brake pad to be even and not underneath the surface of the rim. We don't want it into the tire. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. This one's not really that bad. And then we're going to take up the slack in the cable. Move our brake boot over. And as we pull our lever, you can see that this side has a little bit more pull. So we're going to add tension to this side. And it's about even now. Didn't take very much. Doesn't touch. Has good stopping. And we're going to tuck that wire behind the spring and out to the front. Keeps it nice and neat and out of the way. Now, normally I don't do this whilst moving, but I want to show you that right there is where that brake is actually touching It's like a quarter of the pull to get the brake to actuate. Now we're going to move on to the gears. All right, so ultimately what we want is one click, one gear as it's climbing up through the sequence. We want the chain to be aligned directly with the whole derailleur assembly. If we're having an issue, then we need to make our adjustments to allow the derailleur its full range of motion. One click, one gear, all the way up to 7. One click, one gear, all the way down to 1. The biggest chain ring is 1, the smallest is 7. And of course, the last bits to go on are going to be the reflectors. So we'll put the front one on first, back the screw out. I like to put the reflectors on the street side since you're supposed to be riding with traffic. And the rear. We're not going to lock these down completely until we get the bike on the floor. And we're going to make sure that the seat is at the right angle, that the handlebars are lined up. And we can do that right now. Since these stem bolts were never super tight, I'm going to align across the stem tension bolt, the cap bolt, and the tire tread. And this, of course, will be a 6mm as well. Make sure it's nice and straight. And lock down both the clamp. And lock down both the clamp bolts. Most important. And as long as our controls are at the right angle, we can tighten our cap bolts. Make sure our seat is nice and level, which we got pretty lucky. We're going to make sure that that's locked down. And then we're going to drop our seat down. All right. So now we'll make our paper tag that has the serial number and the details of the bike. And this one is ready to go. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you'll like, share, and subscribe. I hope you'll see some of our other channels that we've started this past year. And I hope you've learned something. So hopefully we'll see you in the next one.